Morning, Algebros. We are going to be talking about the different forms of quadratic equations, and we have three different forms that we can write quadratic equations in. The first being standard form, and standard form is written as y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Next we have factored form, and factored form is written as y equals a times the quantity of x minus p times the quantity of x minus q. And last we have vertex form, which is written in the form of y equals a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. So I'll give you a second to get those written down. Now there are special characteristics that each one of these types of equations or forms of equations tell us, but we'll learn that at a later date. All right, so let's take a look at a graph and the three equations that go with it. So I want you to just look at these three equations, look at the graph, and see if you can notice anything about certain values or certain numbers in each of the forms that you see in the graph. All right, hopefully I created a long enough pause that if you didn't pause the video, you still got a chance to look at it before I talk about it. So let's see, let's point out some major pieces to this graph. First off, it's going up, so it's concave up. We cross the x-axis at -1 and +3, and the vertex of our graph, or the middle of our graph, is right here at 1, -4. Another important piece of information is it crosses the y-axis at -3. So essentially, I'm going to see if I can find these values within these different equations. So if I look at standard form, I notice that my constant is -3. And if we think about what a y-intercept is, it's when our x value is 0. So if I were to substitute 0 in for those, it would cancel out, leaving us with -3. So standard form tells us our y-intercept, -3. Let's see what factored form tells us. We have x plus 1 and x minus 3. Well, I can see that I cross the x-axis at -1 and +3, which as a coincidence is just the opposite of what the numbers are in factored form. But if I remember, factored form had subtraction signs in it. So whenever you have a value in there, it's the opposite of whatever it actually is. So factored form tells us our x-intercepts. And vertex form, if we just take a look at that name, it's probably going to tell us something about the vertex. So let's look at the vertex. We have 1, -4. And look at the numbers that I have in here. I have a -1 and a -4. But if I remember, vertex form had a subtraction sign inside of that parentheses, meaning the opposite. So it would make sense that our value is at +1, but it's in here as -1. So vertex form tells us the vertex. Now all forms will tell us if it's concave up or concave down. So this one's concave up because our parabola opens up. And the a value, which the a value in all of these equations is 1, but the a value is a positive value, meaning it's going to concave up. If it was negative, it would concave down. So a value tells us the concavity. All right, in our next video, we're going to learn how to go from standard form to factored form and factored form to vertex form and vice versa. Stay tuned.